Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is Monday and that means it's time for True Crime Tales. So as y'all know, we've got several segments coming up. I have stopped doing Strange and Unusual because, to be honest, I just felt really bad about doing it because I couldn't pronounce any of the words. So we're just going to be honest. But we are going to continue with Unsolved but not, or Missing and Murdered and Deadly Days and True Crime Tales, obviously. With that being said, let's just get into it. As always, content warning, graphic descriptions of crime scenes, murder, rape, child molestation, etc., etc. Paul John Knowles, also known as the Casanova Killer, was an American serial killer tied to the deaths of 18 people in 1974, although he claimed 35. Paul Knowles was born in Orlando, Florida on April 25th, 1946 to Thomas Jefferson Knowles, ironic, that's the president's name, and Bonnie Strickland. Knowles lived in foster homes before first being incarcerated at the age of 19. In early 1974, Knowles was serving time at Rayford Prison in Florida, now known as Florida State Prison, when he began corresponding with a divorcee named Angela Kovic in San Francisco, eventually becoming engaged. His fiancée paid for his legal counsel, and upon his release, Knowles flew directly to California to be with her, but she called off the wedding. The woman said Knowles projected an aura of fear that terrified her. Knowles claimed to have murdered 3 people on the streets of San Francisco that night, but that has never been verified. Knowles returned to Jacksonville, Florida. He was soon arrested after stabbing a bartender during a fight, but he picked a lock in his detention cell and managed to escape on July 26th of 1974. He always managed to get away at least once. After his escape from police custody, Knowles began a 4-month multi-state crime spree. At the time, the crimes were not linked, but after Knowles' capture, authorities discovered he had recorded audio-taped confessions. They all do that he mailed to an attorney. These tapes were never released to the public, but were reviewed by a grand jury in 1975. The tapes, along with transcripts, were destroyed after being ruined beyond repair in a flood at the federal courthouse in Macon, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. On the night of his escape from police custody on July 26, 1974, Knowles broke into the Jacksonville, Florida home of 65-year-old Alice Henrietta Curtis and gagged her, ransacked her home for money and valuables, then stole her car. Curtis choked to death due to being gagged. In his taped confessions, Knowles claimed to have murdered a teenage girl named Alma. On December 21st, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation identified this victim as 13-year-old Ima Jean Sanders, who disappeared on August 1st of 1974 in Warner Robins, Georgia, and whose skeletal remains were found in April of 1976. Knowles claimed to have kidnapped and killed 11-year-old Lillian Annette Anderson and 7-year-old Mylette Josephine Anderson outside of Jacksonville, Florida on August 1st, 1974. Although the girl's disappearance was never solved, investigators said that they believed this was a false confession. On August 2nd, 1974, Knowles met Marjorie Howie, 49, in Atlantic Beach, Florida. I don't know why when I go to talk and do these segments, all of a sudden I have to yawn, and I haven't yawned all day. She was found strangled in her apartment and her television was stolen. On August 23rd, 1974, Knowles forced his way into the home of 24-year-old Kathy Sue Pierce in Musella, Georgia. Knowles strangled Pierce but left her 3-year-old son physically unharmed. On September 3rd, 1974, 32-year-old William Bates was seen with a red-headed man at Scott's Inn, a roadside pub near Lima, Ohio. It's always Ohio. I live in Ohio. Bates' wife reported him missing. Near the bar, police found Curtis's vehicle abandoned, but Bates' car was missing. In October, Bates' nude body was found. He had been strangled and dumped in the woods. Now driving Bates' car, Knowles bound and killed 2 campers, 62-year-old Emmett Alexander Johnson and 59-year-old Lois Mildred Johnson, at a rest stop near Ely, Nevada on September 18, 1974. 42-year-old Yvonne Charlene Hicks was reported missing by family on September 22nd of 1974. Her body was found discarded beside the road on September 25th, 1975, near a rest stop outside of Seguin, Texas. Her vehicle was found at the rest stop. She had been raped and strangled. Knowles appeared to have met 49-year-old beautician Ann Jean Dawson on September 23rd, 1974, in Birmingham, Alabama. It is unclear as to whether he abducted her or if she traveled with him willingly. But she paid the bills while they traveled together. Knowles claimed that he killed Dawson on September 29, 1974, and threw her body into the Mississippi River. Her remains were found in Mississippi on November 15, 1977 by 2 squirrel hunters. On October 16, 1975, 35-year-old Karen Wine and her 16-year-old daughter Dawn Marie Wine were both bound, raped, and strangled after their Marlborough, Connecticut home was broken into. I wonder if that Marlborough, is that like the cigarettes? Like, are they, I wonder if that's a correlation. Not that that's important. That's not important. But, you know, ADHD and my brain just fit that together. The only thing found missing from their home was a tape recorder. Authorities say that Knowles was the perpetrator. On October 18, 1974, 53-year-old Doris Hosey was shot to death with her husband's rifle. The gun was placed beside her body. Knowles picked up 2 hitchhikers in Key West, Florida, and was stopped by a policeman. Knowles was driving a car stolen from victim Bates, but the officer let Knowles go with a warning. They had him driving the victim's car, and because it wasn't made national, he got away with it. He just like, they pulled over Ted Bundy once, they pulled over Dahmer once, they pulled Gacy over, I think, once, with bodies in their cars. And it's like, you're not good at this job. You might want to reconsider your employment. Shaken by the experience, Knowles dropped off the hitchhikers in Miami, Florida without harming them. Around this time, Knowles recorded audio tape confessions to crimes, mailing them to a lawyer in Florida. I don't know why, but that's what he was doing with them. On November 2nd, 23-year-old Edward Hillard and 20-year-old Debbie Griffin disappeared while hitchhiking near Macon, Georgia. Hillard's body was found in nearby woods, while Griffin's remains were found in Crawford County, Georgia on August 29, 1975. Knowles is reportedly suspected in their murders. On November 6, 1974, in Milledgeville, Georgia, Knowles befriended 45-year-old Carswell Hall Carr Sr. Carswell Carr. Okay. Don't know why that was so hard to say. And was invited back to Carr's house to spend the night. He stabbed Carr to death and strangled his 15-year-old daughter, Amanda Beth Carr, and attempted... On November 8th, Knowles met 45-year-old British journalist Sandy Fox in Atlanta. Fox said that he impressed her with his looks, which were a cross between Robert Redford and Ryan O'Neal. I did have to look those two people up because I'd never heard of them. The pair spent the next few days together, but Fox told Knowles was unable to perform when they attempted to have sex. They parted ways on November 10th. The next day, Knowles picked up an acquaintance of Fox and demanded sex from her at gunpoint. She escaped and notified the police. When patrolmen tried to apprehend him, Knowles brandished a sawed-off shotgun and made his escape. Days later, in West Palm Beach, Florida, he invaded the home of invalid Beverly Mabee, where he abducted her sister, 32-year-old Barbara Mabee Abel, and stole their car. From there, he traveled to Fort Pierce, Florida, arriving the following night. As Barbara later publicized in her book, One Survivor, she was raped during her captivity before Knowles released her. On the morning of November 16th, 35-year-old Florida Highway Patrol Trooper Charles Eugene Campbell recognized the stolen car near Perry, Florida. Knowles was able to wrestle the officer's pistol away from him and, taking Campbell hostage, drove away in the patrol car. Knowles used the police siren to stop a 29-year-old motorist named James Meyer, putting both hostages in Meyer's car. Knowles took the two men into a wooded area in Pulaski County, Georgia, and handcuffed them to a tree. Before shooting each of them in the head at close range. Shortly after murdering Campbell and Meyer, so now he's a cop killer on top of everything else, Knowles became involved in a car chase with Henry County Sheriff's Deputy Charles Hancock. He eventually crashed the car through a police roadblock in Henry County, Georgia. And Officer Jerry Key was injured when Knowles' stolen car crashed into his patrol car. Knowles escaped the vehicle on foot, firing several shots at the pursuing officers. A lengthy and chaotic foot chase ensued, with Knowles pursued by dogs, law enforcement officers from several agencies, and helicopters. Knowles was shot in the foot by Chief Detective Philip Howard during the foot chase before finally being cornered on November 17, 1974 by David Clark, a 27-year-old Vietnam War veteran and hospital maintenance worker. Clark, who happened to be out hunting with a shotgun at the time, had Knowles at gunpoint until Henry County investigators Paul Robbins and Billy Payne arrived on the scene. Robbins and Payne arrested and handcuffed Knowles, who was outside of the perimeter established for the formal manhunt. And might well have escaped if not for Clark's intervention. On December 18, 1974, Sheriff Earl Lee and Agent Ronnie Angel from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation were traveling down Interstate 20 with Knowles, who was handcuffed in the back seat. Their destination was Henry County, Georgia, where Knowles had, per a GI press release, admitted to dumping a handgun he had taken from Florida State Trooper Charles Eugene Campbell after killing him with it. The GBI reported, quote, I don't know why this happens to me whenever I film. Knowles grabbed Lee's handgun, discharging it through the holster in the process, and while Lee was struggling with Knowles and attempting to keep control of the vehicle, Angel fired 3 shots into Knowles' chest, killing him instantly. And that is the end of that story. So yes, he was killed because he tried to, kill more officers. So by the end of this whole thing, he was not only, he was a rapist, he was a necrophiliac, he was a murderer, he was a kidnapper, and a cop killer. So, it's not, personally I think he got what he deserved, but that's just me. As always, please don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make good choices and be cautiously kind to others. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.